We do have some breaking news we want to talk about. During that cabinet meeting, it was exposed that the State Department, now run by Marco Rubio, has unearthed files that were being kept, including what he said is some of you that are in this room, essentially surveilling people and Americans based on what they would call disinformation.
That's right. So this was a program under the Global Engagement Center, which was a working group within the State Department, which has now been shuttered by Marco Rubio as Secretary of State. And the purpose of this center was supposed to be fighting propaganda, foreign disinformation. It's the State Department. Its entire focus is foreign policy. However, what they were doing was building dossiers, the Democrats' favorite thing in the world, a good old dossier, on American citizens, people they were accusing as serving as, quote, vectors of disinformation. Now, that's a terrifying phrase to read, a vector of disinformation. That feels like one step away of calling American citizens enemies of the state by using free speech, by talking on social media platforms. This is another censorship move. We're really glad that Marco Rubio exposed this and talked about it in that cabinet meeting, is being transparent, because that is something we didn't have under the previous administration.
Files, social media post files on American citizens, and not just American citizens, on some of the ones that were even sitting in that very room that are now either a part of the cabinet or a part of the team. He's like, I don't want to name names, but it's happening. And of course, that room was filled with a lot of heavy hitters. Tulsi Gabbard, which we know was put on the Quiet Skies program. We helped her out there. We know people like Elon Musk, who are typically in that room. A lot of heavy hitters, as I said. And to know that this wasn't just a, hey, we are monitoring what's going on outside of our country. We're making sure things are safe. We're going after people within our own border. Not only that, high-level people.
That's right. And the State Department is supposed to be the executive branch that carries out the foreign policy of the United States. And what we're learning is that State Department was monitoring and building dossiers on Americans. And they were accusing them of serving as, quote, vectors of disinformation. This isn't the State Department watching the Russians. This is them watching you. And when you think about the absurdity of our State Department having this global engagement center that wasn't global at all, looks like it was targeting on domestic engagement center as they are building files. This sounds like J. Edgar Hoover, something that Americans have long had a disdain for what the FBI director was doing, the way he was keeping enemies list and building dossiers on his political enemies. I mean, there's even been people saying that we should change the name of the J. Edgar Hoover building because of the egregious encroachment on people's civil liberties and First Amendment rights under his reign as the FBI director. But it turns out that the Biden administration was doing the very same type thing, and the ACLJ is going to get to the bottom of it. We've already tasked our FOIA team to getting a FOIA prepared to get out to the State Department. We're also looking at potentially sending it to the CIA because we know that many times the State Department is doing activity that is related to the Central Intelligence Agency. You learned a lot about that in the JFK files, how the State Department embassy in France was more than half CIA operatives during that time period. So we know that they work closely. And when this all comes down to it, if there is State Department surveillance, CIA surveillance potentially on American citizens, that is way outside the bounds of law. But you also have to wonder about this push to eliminate the First Amendment that we saw so heavily in the Biden administration.
And we actually have a bite from Marco Rubio. I think we should hear from him, because when you hear from him and you actually hear what's going on inside these cabinet meetings, it's refreshing. Again, though what has been exposed is terrible, it's something that we all should be concerned about when it comes to our privacy. We also should be relieved that we have people in power right now who are willing to at least tell us what's going on. But I think we should hear from Secretary Rubio. This is just a couple days ago.
We had an office in the Department of State whose job it was to censor Americans, to monitor the social media posts and commentary of American citizens, to identify them as vectors of disinformation. There's at least one person at this table today who had a dossier in that building of social media posts to identify them as purveyors of disinformation. We are going to turn over these dossiers to the individuals. We know that the best way to combat disinformation is freedom of speech and transparency.
again, sort of a refreshing statement to wrap that up on an unfortunate truth.
That's right. And once again, it's shocking that they were keeping dossiers, but in some level, it's not as shocking as it should be. Because you remember the Disinformation Governance Board. We even talked about Nina Jankowicz going over to Europe back and saying, you got to push back against this authoritarian state. You remember that fact checkers were funded by the government to fact check posts online. The pressure campaigns that we saw on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all of that is a part of the same architecture. This is surveillance state masquerading as national security. They are so afraid of First Amendment rights of the American people, of their political enemies. They're the one making enemies lists. They're the one making dossiers to take down people. This should not be happening in the United States of America. This wasn't law enforcement analyzing a threat to someone that's posting things online that are threatening or I may go do something or self-harm, any of that. This is people analyzing political speech in the State Department, the foreign policy branch, and creating files on them. This isn't law enforcement trying to stop a crime. And you know what? Maybe if you look at how widespread this was between the State Department, Department of Homeland Security, and all of these agencies that were working against your First Amendment right, you have to wonder, if the State Department was more focused under the Biden administration on stopping Russian aggression and stopping Hamas and stopping Iran, maybe we wouldn't be in such a bad place in the Middle East and in Europe that we are today, because they weren't watching the Russians. They were watching you. And maybe if the Department of Homeland Security was more involved in securing the border and stopping migrant crime in U.S. cities, maybe we wouldn't have the situation that had to be stopped by President Trump. And maybe that would have even served their political interest a little bit better. But their political insecurity that is masquerading as national security is what got us here in the first place. So if the Democrats are trying to learn a lesson, maybe don't do what Biden did and try to trample on the constitutional rights of American citizens.
We are so excited to announce the ACLJ's brand new app, completely redesigned to provide you with the best tools available to partner with us at the ACLJ. You can watch the daily Secular program, sign the petitions, customize your ACLJ membership experience, donate with the click of a button, and receive up-to-the-minute critical updates that the mainstream media can't censor. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to your phone's app store, search ACLJ, and click install. It's that simple.